nations abroad for repatriation to India, over 4,75,000 have returned under this mission. This number includes more than 90,000 Indians who have returned through land border immigration checkpoints from Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh. Under phase 4 of Vande Bharat mission, we would be operating more than 500 flights. This includes both Air India and private carriers who are ramping up their operations in a big way. My second announcement is by way of the announcement of the award by the arbitral tribunal, which was constituted on the request of Italy in respect of a dispute concerning the incident involving an Italian tanker, Enrica Lexi, and the Indian fishing vessel, Saint Anthony. You would recall that this tribunal was constituted under the UNCLOS, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, on 26 June 2015. And this tribunal has transmitted its award. The main elements of the award are as follows. The tribunal upheld the conduct of the Indian authorities with respect to the incident under the provisions of the UNCLOS. It held that the actions of the Italian military officers breached India's freedom of navigation under UNCLOS Article 87(1)(a) and 90. The tribunal also observed that India and Italy had concurrent jurisdiction over the incident and a valid legal basis to institute criminal proceedings against the Marines. The tribunal rejected Italy's claim to compensation for the detention of the Marines. However, it found that the immunities enjoyed by the Marines as state officials operate as an exception to the jurisdiction of the Indian courts and hence preclude them to judge the Marines. The tribunal took note of the commitment expressed by Italy to resume its criminal investigations into the events of 15 February 2012. The tribunal decided that India is entitled to payment of compensation in connection with loss of life, physical harm, material damage to property, and moral harm suffered by the captain and other crew members of Saint Anthony. The tribunal also held that the parties are invited to consult with each other with a view to reaching agreement on the amount of compensation due to India. The tribunal also decided that it shall retain jurisdiction should either party or both parties wish to apply for a ruling from the arbitral tribunal in respect of the quantification of the compensation due to India. India has taken note of the award and will be in touch with relevant entities on the matter. So this was by way of the two announcements that I was to make. Now we can move on to your questions. I'll request Yatin to read them out.
So the first question is from Shailendra Wangu from News 18. He has asked, are there developments on repatriation of Indian nationals from Pakistan?
Shailendra, I can inform you that 627 Indian nationals who were stranded in Pakistan have returned through ICP Atari. They have returned on 3 days, that is 25th, 26th and 27th of June. There are about 100 people who still remain in Pakistan, and we are in touch with Pakistan authorities and we are awaiting clearances to facilitate their return. In fact, I also have a breakup of the number. 204 Indians crossed over on 25th of May, 215 on 26th of May and 208 on 27th of May.
Devirupa Mitra from Wire, she has asked, Pakistan's president has approved the election schedule to hold general elections in Gilgit-Baltistan on August 18. Considering India has been objecting to recent legal and legislative developments in Gilgit-Baltistan, does the Indian government have any comment on the declaration of elections?
Devirupa, our position is very clear on this. We completely reject attempts by Pakistan to bring material changes in the Indian territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Such cosmetic exercises are intended to camouflage Pakistan's illegal occupation of Indian territories and we call upon Pakistan to vacate all Indian territories under their illegal occupation.
Srinjoy from Times Now has asked, has the Pakistan High Commission reduced its strength by half?
Srinjoy, following the decision by the Government of India to reduce the staff strength of both the High Commissions of India and Pakistan, the members of both High Commissions returned on 30th of June 2020. In terms of numbers, 38 officials, including family members from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad, crossed over via ICP Atari, and 143 officials, including family members from the Pakistan High Commission, crossed over. So that is the number that you would like.
So next set of questions are on status of talks between India and China and situation in border areas. I'll read them all. Narendranath Mishra from Nav Bharat Times has asked, क्या चीन के साथ डिप्लोमेटिक वार्ता अगले 2-3 दिनों में दोबारा होने वाली है? Sanjay Kumar from Shankar Kumar from India versus Disinformation has asked, what is current status of diplomatic and military level talks on the LAC? Is China ready to disengage? Sandeep Dikshit from the Tribune has asked, is there another meeting of joint working mechanism on working affairs? What are the issues that it will build on? Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 has asked, foreign ministers talked on 17 June. 3 rounds of commander level talks have taken place. Both sides confirm they are working towards peaceful resolution of the dispute, but the standoff at India-China border continues with military build-up increasing with every passing day. Will the MEA like to comment on the apprehension that talks are being used by China to buy time and consolidate its forces on the border? Sridhar from Asian Age has asked, last week MEA said both China and India still had large deployments on the border. Is the situation moving towards a change now? Elizabeth from Live Mint has asked, what is the progress made since the last round of WMCC talks and the military level talks on resolving tensions along with the border? When is the next WMCC meet?
As you are aware, India and China have been having discussions through established diplomatic and military channels to address the situation along the LAC in India-China border areas. The senior commanders of two sides had met on 6th June, 22nd June and on 30th June. Diplomatic engagements are also continuing in parallel, and last week on 24th June, a meeting of the working mechanism for consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs, that is the WMCC, was also held. The senior commanders meeting held on 30th June at Chushul was the third senior military commander level engagement to discuss issues related to disengagement at the face-off sites along the LAC and de-escalation from the border areas. Both sides have emphasized the need for an expeditious, phased and stepwise de-escalation as a priority. This is in keeping with the agreement between External Affairs Minister and his Chinese counterpart during their conversation on 17 June that the overall situation would be handled in a responsible manner and that both sides would implement the disengagement understanding of 6 June sincerely. The discussions in the latest meeting of the senior commanders reflected the commitment of both sides to reduce the tensions along the LAC. The two sides will continue their meetings both at the military and diplomatic level, including under the framework of WMCC, in the future to resolve the issues to mutual satisfaction. We expect the Chinese side to sincerely follow up and ensure the expeditious restoration of peace and tranquility in the border areas as per bilateral agreements and protocols. So this is my readout in response to your questions.
So next set of questions on government's decision on blocking certain mobile apps and related issues. So Suhasini from The Hindu has asked, China has threatened to take India to WTO over banning of Chinese apps. What is your response? Shankar Kumar from India versus Disinformation has asked, what was the total market share of Chinese apps and how much they used to earn per month and per annum from India? Maha from CNN Network 18 has asked, China has said that India's decision on banning 59 apps doesn't comply with WTO standards or international e-commerce trends and wants India to review the decision. Has anything been communicated diplomatically to China about India's decision and whether at all it's final or these companies will be allowed to make representation to government?
See, on the blocking of these apps, while I would like you to refer you to the concerned ministry for the specifics of your question, I can inform you that India is one of the most open regimes in the world for attracting foreign direct investment. And in the last few years, government has taken a host of measures for creating a more investor-friendly regime. Similarly, in the area of digital technology and internet, India has adopted a very open regime. India is today one of the world's largest markets for digital and internet technologies with more than 680 million subscribers. The world's largest software and internet application companies are present in India. Naturally, while operating in India, they have to abide by our rules and regulations issued by the relevant ministries and departments, including those pertaining to data security and privacy of individual data. While we will continue to welcome foreign investments in India, including in the area of internet technologies, but this will have to be in accordance with the rules and regulatory framework established by the government.
So next set of questions are on West Bank. Jomi Thomas from Malayalam Manorama has asked, what's India's position on Israel's move for annexation of occupied areas of West Bank and the way Palestine has responded by asking the support of the world community for statehood? Anita Joshua from Telegraph has asked, India's reaction to Israel's plan of annexation of West Bank. Suhasini from Hindu has asked, UNSG Guterres, the European Union, UK, Germany and other countries have publicly called for Israel to stop annexation plans, and has India reached out to the Israeli government on this issue? What is government's position on the annexation?
Our position on this is very clear, and I would like to reiterate that the final status issues should be resolved through direct negotiations between the two parties. And we urge the parties to engage with each other to find an acceptable two-state solution for peaceful coexistence.
So next set of questions on remarks by Pakistani leadership. Archana Chaudhary from Bloomberg has asked, Pakistan's Imran Khan has blamed India for the Karachi attacks. Will there be a statement from the government? Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 has asked, what does India have to say on the charge by Pakistani Prime Minister that Karachi terror attacks were instigated by India?
See, we had already responded on 29 June on the comments made by the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, and similar comments we see from the Pakistan Prime Minister. India rejects these absurd comments on the terrorist attack in Karachi, and Pakistan cannot shift the blame on India for its domestic problems. We would ask Pakistan that they may wish to reflect on this and on their own government's position, including their Prime Minister's description of the global terrorist as a martyr.
So next set of questions are on Nepal related issues. Shailendra from News 18 has asked, there are reports that state government of West Bengal halted the movement of Nepali cargo trucks at border point. What is your comment to that? Siddhant from Vion has asked, there were reports that Nepali border police stopped embankment work on Lalbakia river. Are there any further updates to that? Pushkar Bankar from the New Indian Express has asked, Nepal PM has accused India of trying to topple his government. Will the MEA react to this? Narendra Nath Mishra from Now Bharat Times has asked, नेपाल में राजनीतिक स्थिरता को क्या भारत वहां हाल में लिए गए कुछ फैसलों का परिणाम मान रहा है? Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 has asked, Prime Minister KP Oli of Nepal has leveled charges on India trying to topple his government. Will the MEA comment on the charge? Have we been able to establish any contact at the diplomatic level with Nepal since a Nepal parliament passed a map that included Indian territory? Maha from CNN Network 18 has asked, Nepal PM KP Sharma Oli has accused India of trying to destabilize his position. How does India react to these allegations?
See, in response to all these questions, I will say that India and Nepal have age-old civilizational ties of friendship, which are rooted in our deep cultural, societal, and cultural linkages. And we remain committed to further strengthen these ties. On the trade-related question, what I'll say is both sides have worked hard and diligently to ensure smooth flow of trade between the two countries. And even during the most stringent COVID-19 lockdown measures in India, we ensured that the trade in goods and supplies to Nepal continued to flow smoothly. On the embankment issue, the repair and maintenance of embankments is being carried out regularly by concerned state governments under established mechanisms.
So next set of questions are on talks between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. Sridhar from Asian Age has asked, was the situation on China border discussed during the call between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin today? Maha from CNN Network 18 has asked, is the conversation between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin, was there any reference to China and situation at LAC?
See, you must have seen the readout which we have issued after this telephone conversation. The conversation was essentially for Prime Minister congratulated President Putin on the successful celebrations marking the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Second World War. And he also congratulated President Putin on the successful completion of the vote on constitutional amendments in Russia. You would recall that Raksha Mantri had visited Russia recently, and our contingent had participated in the military parade there, which was held on 24th of June. This, Prime Minister recalled, is a symbol of the abiding friendship between the peoples of India and Russia. The annual bilateral summit, which is to be held in India later this year, also came up for discussion. And Prime Minister conveyed his keenness to welcome President Putin in India for the bilateral summit. So this is what I have by way of information on the telephone conversation.
So the next question is on H-1B visa issue. Suchitra from News 18 Tamil has asked, is there any new development regarding H-1B visa issue? Any meetings scheduled to discuss with the US counterparts?
Suchitra, last week I had given a reaction to the proclamation issued by President Trump on 22nd June, which temporarily suspended entry under various categories of non-immigrant visa holders. And the people-to-people linkages and trade and economic cooperation, especially in technology and innovation sectors, is an important dimension of the US-India partnership. That is what I had conveyed. So it is in this context that we have taken up this issue with the US side, and we remain engaged with them.
So the next question is also from Suchitra from News 18 Tamil. Can MEA provide data on how many Indians at presently and abroad are infected by COVID-19 and how many deaths so far?
Suchitra, I don't have that information to share. Are there any further questions?
No further questions, sir.
Thank you. This concludes this briefing.